from Germany and week 2 of the LEC. After 4 games for each team, the summer season is starting to settle, and today is a chance to separate yourself from the pack in the standings. And perhaps there'll also be a chance for you at home to separate yourselves from the pack in a later segment in Ready Truck. I'm Sjokz, joined by Vedius and by Quickshot. How are we feeling, gentlemen? Trevor?
Very warm, very happy to be on the show. It was great watching from home yesterday, and there were some crazy entertaining games, which surprised me when I saw the schedule.
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
No problem, sir. I'm also good. Thank you, sir. Great. Now, as said already, some unexpected results yesterday. Now, Misfits, they were, of course, in sole possession of first place going into the week, but they got their undefeated run finished by Rogue. Is this one of the games you were alluding to, Trevor?
Beyond a shadow of a doubt. The way the game started, the draft that we saw from Rogue, and then the gameplay, only to be ended by that Fiddlesticks ultimate, it was incredible.
It certainly was a banger of a game. Getting to see Inspired play Fiddlesticks was quite the joy, especially when we still consider him probably the strongest jungler in the league. Getting to see these creative picks and the way he utilized it, he really did 1v9 that game, and he came in clutch for Rogue when they needed him most.
And we gotta say, Misfits, come on. Why didn't you ward your flanks? Why didn't you? You're against the Fiddlesticks.
Vision. To be fair, even if there was Vision, would have been switched off by the Nocturne ultimate as well. That combination that Vedius
Deadly.
so eloquently broke down in game. It's truly terrifying.
I also think that a lot of credit needs to go to Trimby. He controlled wards very well, and I think that right now that's the big debate. Was it Rogue's fault or was it Misfits' fault? And I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I like the debate, and I'm not going to answer it because I like seeing people argue on the internet.
Me too. I do love that you brought it up because that's something I hadn't even thought about. Of course, it's the other people making sure that the wards disappear and that the enemy team cannot engage like that. But unfortunately for Misfits, well, they didn't ward properly, I guess. We'll leave that in the middle. For XL, though, they upset the Mad Lions, and this might be the best start of a season we have ever seen for XL.
I think it really is, and it is hopeful, of course, and it's one thing that when I was looking at it, I wondered a lot about the Mad Lions draft, as well as the Mad Lions performance over the last 2 weeks. They haven't quite carried through the strength that we saw from MSI, and that means that our expectations were higher. So now we need to reassess, reaffirm, and redefine what we expect both from XL as well as from the Mad Lions.
Well, I think that our expectations for XL have been low to none.
Yeah.
The reality is that they have yet to make playoffs since that they've been in our league, and with the introduction of Dan, I think that yesterday's performance is the best I've seen from him so far since joining the league, because we were promised aggression. I feel like we haven't had it, but yesterday we got a glimmer of what this player is capable of, and when you unlock him, you seem to unlock Nuke Duck as well. So that mid-jungle duo definitely came up clutch yesterday.
But what does Vedius' mom think?
Honestly, you don't want to know, because it's not as polite as I am saying it.
Oh, okay. For people who are not in the loop, Vedius' mother is a huge fan of XL, with all the opinions that come with that, of course. Fnatic then, they were up against Vitality. It was that matchup in the jungle between Whippo and Selfmade, and it was Whippo that got the upper hand than Fnatic as a whole in that game.
I mean, it was great seeing Fnatic finding their stride. I had a lot of hope on the banter front between the Whippo versus Selfmade matchup, and I think Whippo's tweet after the game really kind of summarized it. It's great being able to gank a lane in less time frame than 6 minutes as it would pertain to the TP, and it really showed through. They unlocked Upset, and Upset just dominated Vitality.
It certainly did. I think that Fnatic has been finding their form. With the case of any new roster change, a team often takes time to develop, because scrims and stage have always been a big difference. And we heard it from Whippo last week. He said that he felt like that the way he plays in scrims isn't the same way that he needs to play on stage. And I think that this week we got to see a little bit more of their practice coming into fruition. And hopefully this continues to trend upwards as long as the bot laning is continuing to perform as they are.
The truth is, that statement's fair for both teams, right? Both Vitality and Fnatic need to find their form. Both teams, new rosters here in summer. I also like the fact that Adam was allowed to play Olaf again. It's something we saw last week. Mixed performances, of course, but more crucially to me, the signal that the organization is sending, that they will let them play the comfort picks. Yone in the jungle, Olaf top. It's not something you see a whole lot.
No.
So I do like the fact that Fnatic is playing the game their way. And if everyone remembers, Yamato Cannon particularly famous for kind of to embody and live up to that kind of thought process.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's a great signal for the fans and also the org alike that they are able to pull it off in different styles. Let's take a look also at the meta trends. Gwen, Renekton, Rumble, Varus still with a lot of presence in the pick and ban phase, despite a lot of these champions being knocked down a peg in 11.12.
Yeah, it does seem that their presence and priority is shifting a little bit here in the LEC. They are still considered strong, but for some teams, they're just letting that champion through the entire draft. They're saying that we do have answers to it, or we're happy to play against it. So I'm interested to see how that continues to develop as they learn more about the 11.12 patch, and whether or not those nerfs were a little bit more significant than they initially gave them credit.
And when contrasting to LPL, LCS, as well as LCK, obviously we're on the only region that's playing 11-12 right now, but the differences in priority. So Renekton dropped from 98% now to 80. Rumble, 96 down to 60. Varus, similar, 20% drop off. The one thing that I still keep finding interesting is Gwen, very highly prized here in Europe. You don't see that same percentage, 100%,
yeah,
around the rest of the world. So I'm also very interested to see how that develops throughout summer.
But not very victorious here in LEC in terms of Gwen specifically. You do see that, yeah, and you see that it's
yesterday hurting those stats just a little as well.
Yeah, you do see if there's not like a huge nerf or a huge buff, it does take a while in professional play for the meta completely to change or even to shift a little bit. So maybe we'll see what happens today. But from champ stats to quick stat, no,
yes.
That must be a mistake.
No, you read that correctly.
No.
Yes, it is
No.
quick stats, that is right. And I have a question for everybody at home. Are you the next quick statistician? That's what I want to know. Head over to discord.lec.gg. You can play along with my guests, Vedius and Sjokz. I'm going to be throwing a couple of questions at you that are based on statistics from the LEC. There'll be multiple choice, so my guests can play along. And I just need you to spam your answers in chat on Discord or here on the show. What is the shortest game of LEC summer so far? Is it Rogue versus XL, XL versus Astralis, or Schalke versus Vitality? Tick, tock, tick, tock. Scroll back on prompter because they don't have much time. Quickly look at
Schalke Vitality.
It's option 3, yeah.
Okay, you're going Schalke Vitality. Schalke Vitality, you both are terribly wrong. That is not correct. What does Discord say? What did Discord say? I'm waiting for the producers
I hate
to
losing.
get in with me. They had Rogue, XL. This is 1 point to Trevor, and all the rest of you suck.
How do you get
It was
points?
XL versus Astralis, 25.
Wait, that was a short game?
15
We confused it for XL.
Yeah.
That is correct. You see, that's why I'm
Okay,
the
can we
statistician
band
and you are
together
not.
against Trevor?
What is the most kills that we have seen in a game so far this summer? 41, 38, or 37? 41, 38, or 37?
38.
Tick tock, tick tock. 38.
37.
Locked in. 37 locked in. Discord, where are we going? Discord has 41. This is 1 point to Discord. You are one step closer to being a quick statistician. That is correct. 41 kills.
I don't want to be a quick statistician.
Yesterday, G2 versus Astralis. They set the record. Which player has the highest CS per minute in a single game?
Wait, you gave the answer.
VTO or Crownshot?
Did you say G2 versus Astralis? Who set the record?
That was yesterday.
Yeah.
So who has the highest CS per minute?
In general.
This is CS per minute, all right? So you're taking the total number of creeps.
I'm confused. It's reckless.
Divided by the time.
Crownshot.
Wait,
You're
but he
going-
said G2 Astralis.
Crownshot.
That was the previous question. I'll explain the stats later. You're going Crownshot.
No, okay.
We have Crownshot, Reckless, or
I'm still
VTO.
going reckless.
You're going Reckless, and Discord? Discord also went Restless. You're all just fanboys. The Vedius analyst gets it correct. 1 point for you, 1 point to me, 1 point to Discord. I think we have enough time for one more question. There's only one team in the LEC that has not yet secured a dragon. That's right. You think I'm going to do quick stats without a dragon question? By 15 minutes. Has not secured a dragon by 15 minutes. Schalke, XL, or SK?
SK.
Tock, tick, tock.
It's-
SK locked.
It's
Tick, tock.
It's
tick,
Schalke,
tock.
I'm pretty sure.
You're going Schalke,
I'm
and
pretty sure it's
Discord.
Schalke.
Discord went XL. The correct answer is Schalke Nuclear, the only team in Europe to have not secured a dragon by 15
Kire.
minutes.
Yeah.
Vedius has
Right.
2 points. Discord 1, and I'm not surprised to say Schalke
No,
has 0.
it's actually
So,
resembling of a... Yeah, that sucks.
I love it.
Hey, the good news is, if this was a best of 5, you could have reversed
I could have come back. I could have reversed swept.
So that
for
means we
sure.
have to have another episode of Quick Stats
Or we
quiz
don't.
in the
No,
future.
I'm happy to lose to Vedius. It's fine. Okay, let's move on. I did enjoy that, actually. It was very fun.
Thank you. I'm
I
very
know we
glad to
give-
hear
yeah,
that.
yeah. So in spring, Rogue, they also won a couple of things. They were, in fact, the first team to eliminate G2 from playoffs since 2018. But tonight, the 8-time champions look to settle the score in our match of the week.
History has been made. Neither Fnatic nor G2 will be in a European final. And for the first time, Rogue Rogue will face Mad Lions for the crown.
For me, I would say it's very much a grudge match against Rogue.
When losing to Rogue last split sucked. Obviously, playoffs, they knocked us out.
For G2, this match is now about whether they can bounce back from losing the last split and regain the top spot.
So I don't think that if they make a comeback right now, they're going to be like this insane team that's going to stomp everyone like they did in the past.
G2 Esports dominates Rogue.
To pieces. G2 are ruthless. Mad finding kills across the map, but not enough. As we get into this late game, it is all G2 all the time. Ulti coming in, equalizer down. Neon gonna be in trouble on the backside. So immediately suplex. The dunk's down. Wonder now stepping forward. Reckless in the midst of the pit. Who can get the dragon? Who can get it? As Yank goes in the end. Reckless still alive for just a moment. Reckless ends up going down, but Limit off to the backside. Wonder getting peeled off.
Reckless is the absolute MVP of that fight. His ultimate took 3 people out of the pit.
G2 and Rogue have always had a clash of styles. One plays very clean, by the book, League of Legends. The other is scrappy and in your face. Hans Sama and Reckless, however, clash in opposite ways. Reckless plays the incredibly conservative, sweet style of AD carry, whereas Hans likes to take control of the matchup early and aggressively.
When I play against Hans in the regular season, I got him good both times.
Hansama leading forward, but the immediate stun the turn. First blood, Hansama will get traded back. Reckless still alive, though, to crash this wave.
This is a huge positive trade, Dracos. Look at the wave. Not only did they get the kill, they deny Hans this whole wave.
In order to have more impact in the game, I'd rather play aggressive and look for opportunities. I know from level 1 if I have the edge or not.
And Summer, he gets himself excited. The dash forward from Inspire. He doesn't have the support just yet. Will be able to heal. Pounce, swipe, rockets fired from downtown.
Wonder and Ottawamne are 2 veteran top laners that have been facing off against each other for years. And each time we get to see them face off, it's always a treat.
Wonder is playing more solo queue this offseason than he did throughout the whole of Spring Split. But I'm not sure if that's enough for them. Maybe the team is just struggling to find a good play style.
But here comes the paranoia from way down bottom lane. Inspired puts G2 to sleep. Rogue crush G2.
Ottawamne has never won a championship before, and he's for sure gonna be hungry winning summer, and I'm gonna be here trying to stop him, right?
Be in trouble, but he doesn't get marked up. Now it's Wonder off to the side, fishing for the Spectral Mob. We'll find 2 hours. It's gonna be 1 stack, 2 stack, 3. Immediately, Blade of the Rune King procs that one so fast.
To actually be in a place that you just talk about Rogue more than G2, you have to beat them. We will show up, that we're back. Sure, Rogue beat us, sure, Mad beat us, but that's a one-time thing.
G2 are here to prove they are back. And Rogue are here to dominate.
An amazing match of the week, a rematch of the spring semis, and yes, be in a position to talk more about Rogue than G2. It seems like it's kind of an assignment for the on-air talent crew in the LEC, if you can believe the fans sometimes. But I do think that Rogue definitely, you didn't see where that was going.
That was very good. That was very good. I wasn't expecting that.
But Rogue deserves all the respect. The way they have built their path in the last couple of years and got so close last time in spring. The issue is that they haven't been able to beat G2 in a best-of-1, Vedius. I almost think it's impossible with what they've shown us in terms of strength in the regular season. Why do they always fall to G2?
It's fascinating, right? Because there should be no reason.
No.
Last split, they both ended 14-4, and the reason why G2 ended first was because of their head-to-head record, and they are 0-10 against that team. And it is crazy how, regardless of the iteration, G2 has always been able to get the better of Rogue in that best-of-1. And I think a part of it is just the way in which that they approach the regular season. G2 seems to perform much better against the higher-end teams than the lower-end teams, especially when you look at yesterday's performance against Astralis. If they come in with that level of performance, I think the Rogue should smash them.
Yeah.
But I just think that the thing that's different for me now is Rogue is showcasing a level of consistency that I think that they haven't always had. Yet last split, they were definitely very consistent, but to me, it feels different somehow.
I also
that
think
can't
a
quite
little
put
bit
my
of
words to.
creativity in drafts and champion selects as well. You know, you look
For
at
sure.
Rogue's draft from yesterday where they took down Misfits. I think the man on your screen that featured heavily in that video as well, Hansama, still comfortable to play the Draven. Rogue have always been comfortable to look at Hansama and say, we need you to step up to win this game. And now he's coming face to face with Reckless, a long-time nemesis. Long time ago, Hansama was the guy to challenge, replace Reckless, so to speak, right? So there's a lot of history between these two players, but I do think you cannot discount and dispute 0-10 in the regular season. Yesterday, Misfits proved their kryptonite is Rogue. They couldn't win. They didn't win. Today, Rogue have to prove that they can take down their kryptonite in G2.
Yeah, and it would be huge for them. And I know people often say, yeah, Spring Split and just a singular best of one, but this one is just particularly important because of the pedigree of G2 and because of the road that Rogue wants to go through the playoffs and to show people that they can take down G2 even in a best of one and in a best of 5 if it comes to that. That is the last game of the day. Super excited for that one. And it's been a bit of a Hansama show, I have to say, this weekend. We had the cold open, we had the Draven that was picked. It seems that it might be his day.
When somebody's on fire, you have to focus on it. You have to look at the player, you look at the stats of both Reckless and Hansama, how they're going to compete. And I think as well, when you look at the state of the European scene right now, the fact that Mad Lions and Rogue in our finals from Spring for the first time ever, no Fnatic, no G2. We now look at the 0-10 Rogue, looking at G2. Can they overcome the Nemesis, pick up a win? And is this the start of a changing of the guard, right? And we're not going to know definitively until we get to playoffs, but it's exciting to think
I think
about.
today's the day, Vedi.
I think it very well could be. I think that for a long time, Reckless has sat atop the very stacked 80 carry pool, and I think that Hansama is the man to challenge him, and right now he's informed to do so. So I'm very excited for this matchup in particular.
And speaking of, earlier this week, Hansama joined Drakos and Kadril on Euphoria, where they talked about the matchup versus G2 and versus Reckless.
The other thing is the G2 matchup, and this one is really crazy because, again, I think on paper most people's expected favorites, until proven otherwise in the split, are still Mad, G2, and you guys. Those are the 3 frontrunners for the league. So this is another chance. G2 already took down Mad. Now Mad, as Kadril mentioned, maybe not as much practice. You guys also maybe not a ton of practice, but it seems like ready for the fight. How do you feel about the G2 matchup?
Well, I'm not sure actually. When you just said me that, I was thinking about actually it's regular season. Have we ever won a game?
Your record was abysmal.
Actually,
you
yeah,
might
your
not
record's-
have won a game.
we never
You were
won a
like
game in,
0-9, and then you might have won a game. I can't remember last
I don't think you ever
season.
beat G2 in the regular season.
I don't think you ever beat
Yes,
G2.
I just thought about it. I never thought about it just until now. But
So it's time to kill the Misfits win streak and conquer your demons and take down G2 in the regular split. That's the plan for the weekend.
yeah, that's clearly the plan.
Did 2-0 you? Yeah.
Playing against Reckless as well, it's always another hype thing for me, just to play against Reckless. He's been in the scene a long time, and he's always been kind of... At some point, I was looking up at him when I was like...
I remember. Well, there's the Misfits split where you guys made it to finals, and you went through Fnatic in the semis, and then I think Reckless was were you MVP that split, or was Reckless MVP that split?
I was never MVP.
It wasn't you. Okay, I'm so sorry, Hans. I should know that. I should be better at my job.
Well, let's see whether or not Hansama and Rogue can conquer their demons. Before we get to our match of the week, and before we get to the 4 games before that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to the LEC viewers Hiprain and Jamada. They're currently casting the NLC. You may have recognized them from EU Masters. Gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show. You'll be shoutcasting the first 2 games today. Before we get to that, before we get to LEC, I figured I'd like to give the experts, some of the premier casters from the NLC, a little bit of time to share with our LEC viewers some info. So let's take a look at the standings. Let's talk about the NLC. Hiprain, first of all, hello, and what is it?
Hello. Well, the NLC is the Northern League Championship. It is the UK and Nordics combined. As you can see, we have 2 divisions because we actually just have that many teams. We're one of the ERLs with the most teams in all of Europe. We have Division A and Division B. Over in Division B, Fnatic Rising are currently kind of sitting at the top of the pack. And then over in Division A, we have BTXL, but they are currently stuck in 3rd behind Tricked and Team Singularity. So it's not been a particularly great start to the split for BTXL.
Yeah, and actually on that, I want to talk about Team Singularity because I think that they've been playing 1 phenomenally, and 2, I also want to highlight their mid lane player, Fury, because this guy has been an absolute machine from start to finish so far. On the Akali, on the Jace as well. He's just been pulling out these absolute beast performances where honestly, I can attribute about 3 out of 5 of their wins just entirely to this guy alone.
That's
on the back
simple.
of his own
3 out of
performances.
5 wins, Jamada. Like, he's that much. Is it just another one of these EU mids that we look to the future?
Honestly, I think it could be, because I think not only is he the best performing mid at the moment in the NLC, he's outright just the best performing player too. So
wow.
I don't know. I'm going to keep my eyes on him.
Bold statement, bold statement. Thank you so much for the breakdown. And obviously there's a lot of teams, a lot of names on that list that myself and maybe some of the other viewers are not familiar with. But Fnatic and NXL, those are organizations and brands that we know very well here from the LEC. Maybe Hiprain, talk to me about Fnatic Rising, currently first in Division B. Is that fair? You know, this is a team that has historically dominated the British and now the NLC League.
Ever since we had Fnatic Rising join the UK scene, and obviously vice versa, now the NLC as well, they have been the team to beat. They have been the most dominant team. They've always represented the UK or Nordics at the European Masters, and they were a complete force to be reckoned with. They constantly beat out BTXL, and they just were this disgusting team that was horrible to deal with. But coming into last split, into spring split, they lost their superstar AD carry ex Matty, and they looked a little bit lost. They didn't have a particularly great performance at the European Masters, not even making it out of the play-in stage, and they lost to BTXL for the first time ever, not taking first in their home tournament. But this split, they have kept the same roster they had from the last split, and they're starting to find their form. They're looking like a really, really formidable team, and I would argue the best 5-man squad we've got in the NLC.
Oh my word, you boys are making some bold statements about NLC teams. We'll have to see whether or not you're actually proven true or not. But I will say, there's one thing that caught my attention. You know, Fnatic Rising, they disappointed on the EU Masters scale. You know, I didn't even make it out of play-ins. BTXL, they crushed them all the time. British teams in the NLC disappointing in EUM. Name a more iconic duo. Jamada, tell me about BTXL. They're struggling a little right now, but are you expecting them to step up?
Yeah, I'm hoping they will step up. I think, you know, coming out of EUM straight back into the split, there wasn't a huge amount of time to get a lot of scrim practice in. And they've been saying that too. And it's definitely reflective even in their wins, but like especially their losses. They dropped a game to Granite, which realistically they were in a lead, a big enough lead to close out on. And then in the case against Tricked, honestly, I think they just were the worst team on the day. Tricked came out and they played really, really good League of Legends. But again, you expect BTXL to take down every single team in their group. You expect them to go almost flawless like they have in the past.
Well, we'll find out if they do. Of course, high expectations here as somebody that does have some British roots. I want to see whether or not the NLC can actually step up and compete a little bit more. Now, Hiprain, tell me about where and how and when we can watch the NLC.
Well, the NLC streams over on twitch.tv/NLC LOL. We broadcast on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 5 games a day, plenty of League of Legends to watch, and to kind of fill that lull while you wait for the LEC to come back around.
Oh, I really love that. So many games, so many teams. Thank you so much for the breakdown. I know I'll be tuning in to a few of those games, especially as we get to playoffs and closer to EU Masters. Now, the two of these gentlemen will be casting the opening games of the day. Obviously, we close things out with the match of the week between G2 as well as Rogue. But I want to draw in the attention. Let's start with SK versus Vitality. Jamada, it's your first game cast at the LEC. What are you looking at, or what team or player stories are we going to pay attention to?
I mean, for me, I'm looking at the junglers, you know, on the side of self-made here on Vitality. You know, he said it last night on Twitter. He's alluded to it. He doesn't feel like he's playing at his ceiling, unfortunately for him. So hopefully, you know, we get to see him perform well against SK, who as a whole are definitely struggling, but also against Treats, who individually on the opposite side, despite the role swap, you could argue is maybe the best performing player on SK right now. So, you know, there's a lot of setup coming in between these two players for me.
And a lot of pressure on them as well. Hiprain, maybe a personal question just before we continue with Ready Check. We've had the pleasure of working together in EU Masters a whole lot. How does it feel for you to be shoutcasting the LEC?
I am so excited to finally be here on the LEC. Like you said, I've been working with you and some of the other people behind the scene for a little while now in the European Masters, but to come onto this stage, I'm overflowing of energy, and I'm so glad that I get to do it with the new kid on the block, Jamada.
Yeah, definitely the case. Gents, I wish you could have been here in the studio with us, hopefully in the future. But for today, get yourselves ready. We've got about 5 minutes until we get into game. And as they were looking to bounce back Vitality after 3 losses in a row, Law is standing by with Crownshot.
And thank you, Quickshot. And Crowny, thank you so much for joining me ahead of your games. It seems like things are going slightly better for Vitality since the beginning of the summer season. So tell me about how things have been going so far, and also being reunited with Selfmade, finally.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had some okay games and some bad ones, but overall, I think it's going all right. I think we just need some more time to be on the same page, and obviously being reunited with Selfmade feels good. Yeah, it's always good to play again with all teammates.
I can imagine, and as you said, the road will be long and you have some things to get in motion for Vitality, but something I noticed about the new identity for the team is the over-aggression, maybe. So I want to have your point of view on that. Is this what you want for this new Vitality lineup? And how do you plan on making this over-aggression into the appropriate amount, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that's a characteristic. Yeah, sometimes we just take bad fights or we're not on the same page, and it ends up we just get punished for it. I think in scrims we're doing well, and I think obviously stage is always a bit different. Teams generally play more careful and play more reserved, but I think over time when we get more comfortable with each other, and I think it's going to be good.
Of course. And another aspect that I heard about on social media is the new Vitality office that you have. So tell me about it, this new place, and how is it helping the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously nice. Before we were in a gaming house, but now the apartments and where we sleep and where we train is separate. So we pretty much have everything here, everything that we want, a gym as well. So it's very nice.
That is fantastic. So you have everything in your hands to be successful this summer. Last question for you. You're going to face off against SK today. Yeah, 2 former SK members actually facing off against this team, but they're still looking for a win. How do you think the match is going to go against them?
I think we have a good chance, for sure. If we just play how we do in practice and we play confidently, then we'll do good.
All right. Well, best of luck today, Crownshot. And yeah, maybe we'll see you after the game. And Sjokz, back to you.
Thank you very much. And of course, mes condoléances pour le match nul contre Hongrie, Laure. Ça va aller, je pense. But thank you so much for that interview with a Crownshot, who I think is still very positive, despite what I think was a crushing defeat. It was a really rough defeat against Fnatic yesterday, and this is what I've heard from the Vitality players since the beginning of the season, being we're playing with all players who are dedicated to improving and are dedicated to this project, which might not necessarily mean that the results are there straight from the start, but I'm happy to hear that, you know, he's still relatively positive about the team, as he should be after the big changes to the top side.
I think how can you not be? When you look at this roster, it is just stacked with potential, right? When we heard about Lebrov first coming into the league, everyone was super positive. SLT, a huge carry player from the regional leagues that also has a lot of positive sentiment, and Leader is a player that everyone just wants to see perform. When you pair that up with both Selfmade and Crownshot, you expect them to perform well, but right now they're not being able to do that. And I love the fact that Crownshot kind of said what a lot of us were thinking, was that it seems that they're not on the same page with a lot of their plays. There is poor communication when trying to execute. Sometimes they overcommit to plays that they don't want to actually do. And I think that it's a matter of time until we see this team really start to gel and perform.
Small question maybe for you, Trevor. Is it because there is so much potential that it may be harder to find the perfect fit and how the puzzle pieces all fit together?
Absolutely. Also because these are very strong ideas of how to play the game, right? I think when you look at Selfmade and when you look at Leader as individual players, they have single-handedly shaped an entire team's approach to the game, to the draft, to decision-making. Now you want to try to combine that both with a mixture of teams and players and support staff behind the scenes. The Vitality coaching and support staff behind the players also changed between spring and summer. So this is a gigantic overhaul, and then trying to put all those puzzle pieces together. I do think we hold the players to a high expectation because we have seen what Crownshot can do at his best. We've seen the impact that Selfmade can have, and we all have hope for Leader's playstyle because it is both beautiful to watch and hugely impactful in the game.
And Vedius, this tweet from Selfmade kind of said it all yesterday.
It certainly did, and I think that this is something that I think Selfmade takes on a lot. All we've heard from Fnatic is that he was a very positive influence when playing with him, and I think that he's very self-critical as a player as well. So in this new environment, we know he wants to succeed, and right now he feels like that he can't do it. So hopefully we see him step up and return to form like he has been so many times before.
And it's funny because a lot of the things we've just said, you could technically apply to the SK organization as well.
True.
You know, different players, their coaching staff has changed quite dramatically, as has their players. Inexperience in roles as well, looking at what Treats is going to do in the jungle. And we just heard from Jamada saying that in his mind could be one of the strongest performing players on SK. I think as well, these are two teams that are trying to find their feet, that are trying to find or confirm, lock in their identity and move towards picking up wins, with SK being the only team without a win on the board, despite having 2 opportunities that honestly they could have or maybe should have closed out. It is an interesting start to summer for this team as well.
Yeah, I find it a bit frustrating, I have to say, as watching SK, because even in this game, until this happened, they also had a big chance of winning it, Vedi. But, you know, what is it you think about SK that is limiting them from finishing games or getting the upper hand at this point?
Well, I appreciate the one I'm about to say seems a little broad and vague, but their mid-game is something that I think that has troubled them, largely because when we look at their early game, a lot of positive things can be said about Treats. I think that he plays around mid lane well. I think that his pathing is pretty positive, but that transition from getting an early lead into finding a huge win, what happens there actually varies. Yes, we just saw examples of them losing team fights, but it hasn't just been that. There have been positions where they were in control, and then all of a sudden, you just see them slowly moving further and further back in their base, and you're like, hang on, you've now just given up the entire map, and it feels like that something is going wrong in their mid game where they don't know how to transition from being in a position of power to cementing a winning game. And I think that's something that Treats even tweeted about, saying that he wants to change, he's committed to changing. The question is, will they be able to do it in time? Because everyone else is improving around them as well.
It's also so difficult to narrow down, right? Because in just a minute and a half that Vedius spoke, raised a whole plethora of different areas or things that could be problematic that need to be recognized, identified, addressed, and then practiced, drilled, changed in game. So it is a very difficult task ahead of them, like Vedius was saying, as we start moving towards the later stages of summer.
I think you make an exquisite point, because it's not because we say in week 1, oh, we saw this and this and this. Obviously, the coaching staff knows that as well, but there's a lot of things that you just need to practice and give time. But it is the summer season, so there is less time if you want to make it to those playoffs and possibly even the miracle runs to Worlds. So the season is still young, but it is high time for Vitality and SK to start the climb towards the top.